Chapter 3. Cloud Mows the Lawn. Again. The shower water sprinkled out of the nozzle as the naked girl spread it all over her gorgeous body. Cloud was mowing the lawn again, but this time Tifa decided to stay in the shower. She still had a good view of him through the window, and it was possible that the neighbours could see her, but she didn't care. Because, of course, why would they start acting intelligent now? Tifa had not been feeling too good for the last few days. She wasn't sick, but she'd just been eating a lot lately, and then taking Ipedac so she wouldn't get fat. Soon her loneliness ended. She let out a sigh of relief as she heard Cloud knock on the bathroom door. "How are you feeling, Tifa?" asked Cloud politely as he tried to catch his breath. "I feel terrible," giggled Tifa. "Eee! Come in!" With that, the door opened. Cloud was a gentleman, for he would often check on her, yet never come in when Tifa was showering until she gave him permission. He even stood at the bathroom door if she didn't. Cloud walked in, put the toilet lid down, and had a seat. "How's the lawn?" asked Tifa sweetly. "Boy, it's getting tougher every time," replied Cloud. "Don't tell me you're getting old," joked Tifa. Cloud laughed back. "Well, it's 90 degrees out and I'm drenched. Plus, I had to take the trash out." Wait. Okay, I need to stop this fanfic right now. 90 degrees outside. Isn't that, depending on whether you're using Fahrenheit or Celsius, isn't that kind of sort of lethal for some people? Apparently the sun is expanding early.
Well, don't forget that these characters survived, the whole entire entire sun collapsing on them, if you remember right.
Yeah, but what about the rest of the world? I mean, maybe they actually are the only people left in the world. So we have to leave procreating to these guys.
Heat-resistant cops, but still.
Oh yeah, and the cops. You know what? I don't care. I just want to get through this thing now.
And I just realized I probably couldn't read one because my parents are still awake. Damn, being in America. Maybe on the weekend.
I'll at least continue this to the end for you, though.
Alright.
A big smile appeared on Tifa's face. That was the cue he wanted to get into the shower with her. He was too shy to act explicitly, and Tifa liked that. "Well," began Tifa, trying to hide her excitement, "can you do me a couple of favors?" "What?" "I forgot my clothes. Would you mind getting them for me?" "Sure," explained Cloud. "And the other?" "When you bring my clothes in, get your naked butt in here and kiss me." Slowly the realization came to her. She needed a poop, and real bad at that. Gathering her courage, Tifa crossed her legs real tight, holding it in. Then she took one step out of the shower. "So far, so good," whispered Tifa to herself. She took another step towards the toilet. But suddenly, she started to leak liquid shit. She felt it oozing down her leg, realized the trouble she was in. She stood there with her legs crossed really tight, holding her poop in and trying to think what to do. Her thoughts were soon interrupted. Cloud returned to the bathroom without warning. Worse, he'd pressed up against Tifa's back and put one hand on her shoulder. He had startled her, and she started to poop on him. Horrified, Tifa jumped out of the shower and sat on the toilet. Unfortunately, she'd forgotten to put the lid up, so she made a mess on the lid. Tifa wanted to relax, but she couldn't because she knew what she'd done. Eventually, she got the lid up, then finally relaxed and just let it all out in the toilet. Tifa was farting bad and the stink was even worse. She was crying her eyes out by all the mess she made. It wasn't that she'd never messed herself before, but never a bathroom. "I'm sorry, Tifa," cooed Cloud as he wrapped his arms around the shitting girl. "Just let everything out, babe. I'll clean up." With that, Cloud picked up a roll of paper towels and kneaded some into a wad. Tifa felt guilty as he wiped the waste off the floor. She understood very well why she loved that man. She even cried a little as he wiped her shit off him. She just wanted to crawl into a hole and die. Soon she was done. She got up off the toilet and flushed, although that didn't really do anything to kill the smell. Tifa put the lid down, revealing the shit on the lid. Cloud made another wad of paper towels and then cleaned Tifa's dropping off the lid. Shit, grumbled Cloud. What happened? Asked Tifa. I ran out of paper towels. Uh-oh. Bend over, ordered Cloud. Tifa did as she was told. She felt funny to stick her ass up at Cloud when he told her to bend over. Suddenly, she felt a strange feeling behind her. It was almost as if a snake was on her, and she soon realized what was happening. He was eating the waist off Tifa's back. Tifa gasped and put her hands on her mouth. She knew Cloud would do a lot for her, but she couldn't believe he would eat her droppings. Tifa stood in shock as Cloud continued to lap up her feces. She could hear him swallow it too, and giggle at how much he cared for her. Just relax yourself, said Cloud softly as he swallowed a glob of Tifa's poop. Oh, I almost threw up a little there. Tifa felt awful that he was going through all this trouble just for her, but she did just that. She didn't even care as she just let out even more poop and pee leak out of her. Cloud quickly lapped it all up and swallowed. That's good, Tifa, just let everything out, said Cloud again. Tifa farted and giggled and soon all the waste was off her. Then they filled the tub and took a long romantic bath together. Then they made love. Tifa realised how lucky she was to have a man like Cloud. It was a good day with a good dump, one that she would look forward to again. Chapter 4.
Oh god, there's more.
The final chapter. In the park.
Oh,
now, bear in mind that this is set after the story. So if you encounter a certain something that kind of breaks canon so hard that your brain explodes, yeah, basically. Chapter 4. In the park. Cloud, Tifa, Aeris, Sid, Barrett, Katesith, Vincent, Red 13 and Yuffie were out in the park, seated at the picnic table. They had just finished lunch and were presently talking about memories past. Tifa suddenly stood up and headed for the bathroom. Cloud grinned, knowing what was about to happen. He winked at Tifa and pretended he didn't know. She was his, but still hot. Everyone would be turned off if they had known about her shit shenanigans. Thank the planet we were so close to the bathroom, she giggled when she got there. Then out of the blue, she saw the dreaded sign on the ladies' storeroom. Out of order. Fuck, groaned Tifa. Why are all my bowel movements turning into nightmares? I think she just summed up the whole fanfic. With a sigh, she went round the barn. It was a rather secluded place with trees and leaves keeping her well hidden. A good place for a girl to discharge excrement. As if there's a good... I'm not going to question it. I'll do this quickly, whispered Tifa as she began to undo her wraparound black skirt. She removed her panties as not to stain them. Tifa stretched her anus wide and felt something slide out from behind. Now there was 4 inches sticking out, 4 fat inches of girl poo. Tifa continued to push, but the turd would no longer budge. Come on, you little bitch, don't tease me, Tifa squealed. Tifa, cried a familiar soprano. Tifa turned around in shock. Aeris, she cried in a similar tone. What are you doing here? Isn't it obvious? She giggled. That's creepy. With that, Aeris slipped off her red jacket and began to unbutton her pink dress. She hung it on the branch of a nearby tree as Tifa noticed Aeris wasn't wearing a bra nor panties, just her shoes. This is so damn scary, laughed Tifa as she continued to push. Right, giggled Aeris as she squatted. The 2 girls began to shit in unison. Suddenly, a tear rolled down Eris's face. "What's wrong?" Tifa asked her friend. "Oh, this just reminds me of my first experience with my first boyfriend, Zach." With that, Eris closed her beautiful green eyes and began. "Zach and I were driving through northern Midgar on the highways. Well, I always vowed never to shit or even fart in front of a guy. It just wasn't ladylike a thing to do. Until then. And it was the most embarrassing unladylike fashion. We originally came from Calm and were on our way to Junon. I remember eating a huge breakfast before we left, but I couldn't shit then, so I decided to hold it in until we reached Junon. In situations like these, I never succumb to defeat, so I was pretty confident my butthole would be going victorious in the battle against Turge knocking on the door. And I can take care of my business properly like a lady should. Anyways, during the entire trip I'd feel my stomach turn and the pain increase as time went on. I just told myself, you can make it, Eris girl, and the thought about other things. It wasn't until we were about an hour away from the outskirts of Junon that I thought this could be the one battle I'm defeated in.
You guys are sick as fuck. What the fuck's wrong with you?
This is Cloud Mows the Lawn, my friend. There must have been tons of waste backed up in my bowels, and it was attacking my asshole with no mercy. I clenched my butt cheeks together with full force and told myself to hold out for an hour until we got to the hotel. Due to my nervousness and the thought of impending doom caused me to sweat all over profusely, and the sweat building up in my ass crack only seemed to act as a lubricant. Defeat seemed inevitable, and the pain in my intestines was unbearable, and Zach started to notice. He looked over concerned and asked me what was wrong. I was biting my lip, and the look of pain across my face was obvious, and I couldn't answer. He asked again and slowly asked if we could pull over to a nearby restroom. The sign showed the nearest place a restroom would be about 15 minutes. I couldn't wait that long and was terrified by what might happen. I continued to strain, but that did no good. Then the turd poked out of my rectum. I was wearing a navy blue colored shirt with no underwear, so the turd obviously hit the surface of the seat. I screamed for him to pull over, and confused he did. I had no other choice. I figured shitting myself on the car would be more humiliating and would ruin my tights. So she's wearing no underwear, but she's wearing tights. So I quickly jumped out of the car, and thank God I was wearing a skirt so I could pull it up rather quickly, and I squatted right in front of my boyfriend, clenched my butt cheeks with my hands as my asshole had the diameter of a tennis ball, and I unleashed my stinky brown load. It was watery and lumpy, and at the same time, I could hear the shit hitting the ground as I was squatting here off on the side of the highway. I was completely disgusting. God knows what the people who were thinking who were driving by when they saw some woman shitting her guts out on the other side of the highway. And it horrified me to know that what my boyfriend was thinking. Shit must have poured out of my ass for a good 2 minutes. My ego and pride were shattered, and with my head down, I asked my boyfriend for something to wipe my ass with. He got out of the car and, with a look of disbelief on his face, opened the trunk and grabbed some rags for me. Completely defeated, humiliated, and embarrassed, I wiped my asshole thoroughly and wiped the tiny shit stain on the inside of my tights and pulled them back up. We looked at my load on the ground, and it was startled to see how huge a dump I took. We both got the car, and I was too embarrassed to say anything or give an explanation. He just looked as shocked and disgusted as I was. It was the most embarrassing moment of my life. What happened after that? Asked Tifa, with a tear rolling down her cheeks. She realised that she was really touched by the story. I pooped on my skirt, so it was ruined. When I lamented this, he was like, "Don't worry, it's just a skirt." And he ripped it off with a big smile, leaving me in a shirt but no pants, like you are now. Well, we eventually got to Junon, and we went to the restaurant as usual. The waiter was so polite, even though I'm sure he knew I was bottomless. Zach and I sat down in a booth and had a wonderful talk. By this time, the final inches of feces had slid out of Eris's anus. She plucked a leaf from a nearby tree and wiped her butt. Tifa, who still had 5 inches of poo hanging from her anus, sighed in disappointment. She would soon be alone again. But her spirits were lifted when Eris did something very expected. Before dressing, she hugged her friend and pecked her on the cheek. Tifa was a closet bisexual, and Cloud knew. But she'd never been kissed by a girl before. She realised that this was the beginning of something more. But also the end of the story.